Leeds on the offensive straight away. Jack Harrison here. Jack Harrison bringing the ball forward. He's played it into Pablo Hernandez, edge of the area. Hernandez goes for goal! What a start to the game! 17 seconds on the clock. It's got to be one of the quickest goals of the Sky Bet Championship season. Here's Cook. Cook goes for goal! And finds the back of the net in sensational fashion.
Jones now for Leeds. And McNabb only half stopping him. Jones getting it across. And Clark going in! And Alan Clark has put Leeds ahead! Live down under. Mark Viduka is a sporting god in Australia, and now in West Yorkshire. Here he is again. It's Viduka. It's four. It's all his own work.
Well, everybody, welcome back. It is not the watch-along, as you can see at the bottom line of the screen. It is, of course, your instant match reaction. And let's just update that now. There we go. Fulham review. Good stuff. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, people. My name is Conor McGilligan. This is One Leeds, and this is your instant match reaction. Absolute delirium at the end, kind of just ruined by, I don't know if you've seen it, guys. I don't know if you've seen it. West Ham have just won it in the last minute against Spurs, which makes Connor a very rich boy. I said 3 weeks ago, I was looking at the fixtures and I said they'll beat Spurs. Spurs are that bad. I was convinced. West Ham haven't been that bad in the fixtures that I've watched against them. And I thought they'd beat Spurs, and they have done. They've just beaten them in the last minute, which takes the shine off the last minute winner for Leeds United a little bit. But I have to say, like, you know, you're looking at Forest now, and Forest kind of coming up against the league leaders and you know, the champions-elect, in my opinion. You know, they have to do something, really, which I think is reasonably unlikely. But things do happen in football. Look, loads to discuss in this game, even though it was quite a drab game, quite a dour game. Leeds United winning it in the last minute with drunken Metcha. And if you're on the watch-along, you'll know what I mean. I thought he was really poor when he came on. He was wide left, and Nonso got shifted out to the right. I think Nonso didn't obviously have his imprint on the game like he would have liked. It kind of became a little bit more of a central game, it felt like a central game, and then it was almost like Bogle, and then it was Goodmanson, and the wingers were just ignored when Nonso came onto the pitch. It felt like it just turned into a fullbacks game right at the end with, you know, Goodmanson hitting the side netting and putting it over the bar. But it felt in that second half, there was only going to be one team that was going to win it. I still didn't feel like we had enough quality on the pitch to win it. I'll be honest with you guys. I think there was a massive, massive hole left by Yakabiel, a huge hole left by Anton Stack as well. And if we were just to get into that in particular, Yaka, I think up against Joe Rodon, in terms of the comparisons, I think Joe can telegraph a pass a little bit and where he's going to put it. And I thought Fulham kind of read some of his play out from the back line today quite well in terms of cluster pressing our fullbacks. I think with Yakabiel, it's a little bit more unpredictable as to what he's going to do, because I think Joe will pass the ball normally within a 5 to 7 yard region. He is of the Farker mold. It's quite conservative, isn't it? Whereas Yakabiel he's very unpredictable in where he's going to play the ball. He might play the ball centrally into the striker, or he might ping a 30-yard ball wide left to Aronson. He's very unpredictable in his passing lanes, and I like that about Yakabiel. And I think as well, you saw Jimenez get on top a little bit of Joe Rodon today at points. If I'm to be super critical, I thought he won 4 or 5 headers against him, was able to win a couple of free kicks off him as well. So I didn't think, you know, I thought we missed Yaka a heck of a lot, and Stack's just that quality in that midfield. And you see him now, you see him when he's out of this Leeds United side, and when he's in this Leeds United side, Leeds are really, especially in that midfield, with the midfield composition, the relationship between all of them, that today was 2 sixes in there. You know, Leeds had Joe Rodon on the pitch, we had Pascal Struijk on the pitch, we had James Justin on the pitch, we had the two fullbacks on the pitch or the wing backs on the pitch. Then you had Gruev and you had Ampadu. And that they're all defenders, aren't they? Including Darlow as well, who we'll get onto in a little bit. But it's just a defensive team. Then you've got, three attackers in a sense. And I just thought it kind of got to a point of which there needed to be a little bit of an evolution in that squad in terms of substitutions. But I think when you look at the starting lineup in particular, Biol and Stark, we look at it and we think, wow, they are big, big misses for Leeds United in the context of things. And what I'd like to say on the back of that is, everybody, you saw our set pieces really where we kind of gained those marginal advantages in football games. Our set pieces, we struggled a little bit today, I thought. I thought we struggled a little bit in being able to really conjure the right opportunity and conjure the right moments, the quality from the set piece, which we see with Stack, and then I think the sort of I am going to die to head that ball, Jakob momentum that we see in the box. And Jakob not scored like bags of goals from set pieces, but what he does do, he's a huge disruptor. He's a big physical specimen. He's at 6'4". So Leeds missing those players and going into the game with a little bit of a patched up squad in a sense. I thought that first half, I thought Fulham were the better team on the ball. I thought probably up until the 60th minute, they were the better team on the ball. I have to be honest with you guys. I think they were able to get the ball from back to front a lot quicker and a lot more seamless than Leeds United. And I thought Leeds actually started getting joy when Dom started getting into the game a little bit more and we were able to hit him and he was able to just pass that ball off to Brendan Harrison, and then we'd feed the ball wide left. But we always see a much better Leeds United, I think, when we stretch the game. When the ball gets to Bogle, when Harrison's out here, when Goodmanson's out here and he's flying forward, and we might have a Okafor or a Nonso out there or whoever it may be, or a Mecha towards the end. When Leeds stretch the game and you kind of leave Dominic Calvert-Lewin isolated against the centre-back, that is where we're at the most dangerous. And I think we were only able to find those pockets really at a certain point in that second half. And I actually think, strangely enough, excuse me, Buonanotte in that game would have made a massive difference, just in the half space between the midfield and the attack, just threading the balls out wide and threading the balls between the lines as well, with Dominic Calvert-Lewin in those spaces between the centre-back and the right-back and the centre-back and the left-back. I think Buonanotte would have been really effective today. I thought maybe Farkas should have brought out Tanaka on. I thought he should have started, if I'm honest with you, because I thought it was a very defensive Leeds United and a conservative Leeds United, but I would have liked to have seen Tanaka come on a little bit earlier. And the reason behind that is because I just thought there was a missing creative link between the midfield and the attack. I have to say, I thought there was a big link missing. And I think Tanaka provides that, with his calmness, his assurance. I didn't think he was going to be overawed by that game. And we're having a chat a little bit before the game about maybe him moving on at some stage. And I think he will. If you're kind of looking at that midfield complexion just in and around there, and he's not getting in that team to start for Leeds United as a Japanese international and a player that we were touting out to be worth 40 million quid at the start of this season. If he's not getting into that team, when you got Brendan in there, you got Gruev in there, you got Ampadu in there, I think you'd be naive to think that at some stage that's not going through his head when he's thinking about his future. So loads to consider today when it comes to this Leeds side. But what I will say is this was a team who was second in the form table. This is a team who were a very good side. I think we saw that at points today. And look, it's more of a pat on the back for Leeds United, and we saw changes, and we'll get into those changes today. But this is a team who were second in the form table. I think between the lines, they are very, very decent, and they were missing Iwobi today, Chukwueze today, Calvin Bassey today, and I think these are all good ball progressors. They're all good technical footballers, even Calvin Bassey, who there's rumours about Liverpool looking at Calvin Bassey. So Fulham's product line is very good, and I think you can even see today when they're missing 5 players, including Kenny Tete and Rodrigo Muniz, they're missing these players, and they're still able to play between the lines like that, and that's Marco Silva ball. But I thought Leeds kind of figured Fulham out to a certain extent, I thought anyway, in those first phases. And let me explain why. I thought we got into the game and it took us a little bit, but I thought in that first half when we started applying pressure, we did a preview and we said that if we start applying pressure on their back line, Fulham always try play out from the back. Now, I'd earmarked maybe Issa Diop to start the game. He did come on, but Cuenca started the game. Joachim Andersen started the game, and they are probably better ball progressors, but Cuenca is definitely the weaker of the two. So when they were playing the ball out from the back, and we saw a real weakness, I thought, in Anthony Robinson being able to progress when he's under pressure. So when Leeds were pressing really high up and were aggressive, we were turning that ball over. But I did think you did see Fulham's quality a little bit when you're able to see them playing through the lines a little bit and bypassing our press as well, which I thought was obviously good from their standpoint. So, look, Harry Wilson, they've given him a 7.2 here. We will be doing the player ratings over on the Patreon after this, people, but I wouldn't have given him a 7.2. I thought it was quite ineffective today for them. I probably thought their better players were, as the other ratings have suggested, Raul Jimenez, who I thought did well against Joe Rodon, and Joachim Anderson, who I thought did quite well against Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I thought Dom got into the game a little bit more, but I thought in that game in particular, I thought Joachim did quite a good job on him. But listen, overall throughout the game, you look at the stats here as well. If we just move this on when it comes to the carousel, there was only really one team I thought that was trying to win that game toward the last maybe sort of 10, 15 minutes. But then you can look at it on the other side of things and maybe I'm wrong with that, because you look at them bringing on Kevin, you look at them bringing on Tom Kearney, although he had to come on, didn't he? And Emil Smith-Rowe went down and Josh King had to come on, and that's the depth that they've got. But that had to happen, but it did still feel that Fulham were going for it a little bit. But unlike last time when we were at Craven Cottage, where it felt like the momentum went Fulham's way and then we buckled under the pressure, it felt this time Leeds just, it's credit to the boys, it's credit to Farke. Leeds continued to really try and gain some sort of momentum and territory, and we did a good job. We did a good job. And it felt like, even though they were throwing attacking bodies on, we did start to throw attacking bodies on. As I've mentioned, I brought Tanaka on a little bit early because I thought we missed that technical link between the midfield and the attack. But I thought overall there was some decent performances in there. I don't think it was Leeds' greatest display by all means. And I'm not going to turn around and say it was a world-class performance because we won the game. Brilliant. But it's an excellent finish. We have to be honest. It's a superb finish. Absolutely excellent finish from Lucas Mecha. And yeah, there's conversations as well as Lukic. Is it Lukic who should have been off the pitch because he was on a yellow card, then threw the ball away? In any other game, but we've been seeing batshit stuff from referees and VAR today. Man United should have been down to 10 men in the earlier kickoff when Dalot has nearly took Doku's leg off, but obviously that doesn't get given. So we know VAR and the referees in this country are inconsistent. So yeah, I'm kind of at that point right now where, yeah, you're just relatively happy. I'm relatively happy that the situation has gone the way it has today. I mean, if we just have a quick look at the table, it's not the worst thing in the world, West Ham winning, not for my bank account anyway, because I put them on to win. But they are now they'll be on West Ham. If I can just get this, the updated table is on here, but West Ham will be on, I think, 17 points. West Ham will be on 17, we'll be on 25. So that gap's pretty much stayed the same, hasn't it? So that's positive in a sense, I guess. It's just one more game to being ticked off. So yeah, Aronson, I thought had a decent game today. I have to say, I thought he grew into the game. I think my frustration with Brendan is it's going to be what happened at the very start of the game, where he's thrown goal and he kicks the ball over the bar, and it's like that and I didn't get excited. I'm here and I'm like, Brendan's through, because I know what's going to happen. But then he'll pull out what he did he'll pull out what he did against Newcastle, where he's able to just be on the edge of the, although that did feel like a bit of an anomaly, but on the edge of the area, he drills it into the bottom corner when nobody expected that, but then he's thrown goal against Fulham and tries to elect to side foot it into the top corner or wherever he was going, and that was never really on. So yeah, positives and negatives to take from Brendan, I thought. But what I love about him, I have to say, is it's his want to get on the ball. I love that about Brendan. He's never scared, and it takes a real character and a real personality on the football pitch to never be scared, never be intimidated by going and getting hold of the ball and distributing it. And not being scared to lose the ball. There's just times in that game where he's in a cluster press. Fulham players are all around him. He's got the ball, and instead of playing the easy pass towards Gabby Goodmanson, towards James Justin, he will try Cruyff turn it and get out of there, and he'll end up losing the ball. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think with Brendan, sometimes I just like the basics to be more obvious. But what I would say is, Brendan Aronson isn't an obvious footballer. He's very unorthodox. So DCL, I thought, really grew into the game. He had a golden chance, didn't he? An absolute golden chance where he should have put the ball into the back of the net, if we're being honest. Didn't. But it's still a really good performance from DCL, because I thought he grew into the game. I thought he was ragging their centre-backs round at the end. I mentioned this several times, but I thought when Mecha came on, he looked, I'll be honest, I thought he looked woeful. I thought he looked awful. They shoved him, but I don't know what this experiment is about Lucas Mecha being on the left-hand side. I don't get it. but he misplaced 2 or 3 passes, one right into the centre part of the pitch, of which Harry Wilson picked up in like the 87th minute. And you're thinking, what are you doing? And then he pops up with that at the end. And Leno has to make a world-class save for him not to get his second towards the back end of the game. So kind of, yeah, strange game, really strange game. But we have to say, without Beal in there, you know, we just had to get the job done. Staying in the game was the big thing for Leeds today. We stayed in the game. And yeah, I like if I'm to be hyper critical, I would be looking at James Justin on these corners, especially the in-swingers. Terrible, straight down Leno's throat, and he's just chipping him into the box. I'm thinking, mate, you've got a very good goalkeeper in there, and you're just chipping the ball onto the penalty spot. There needs to be whip. You need to give variance in your balls into the box. And to be fair, Metra did head it over from a near post cross from Justin. I don't see why our footballers don't do that as well. Sometimes when you know the players are not going to hit the penalty spot or hit the far post, why don't you just run across the goalkeeper on the near post? And that's what Metra did. And we just don't seem to do that. There's like a 50% chance that Leeds are going to hit the front post with some of these corners, and we don't have players running across it. It's bizarre to me, but it is what it is. But that result seems massive because West Ham have won the game. And it's momentum for us as well. But yeah, it's I wanted as well to talk about just if we're just to complete the conversation about Metra, you've kind of got to move him. If I'm to talk about the positioning, you've got to move him off that left-hand side. I don't care when he's been put on. Like, that's where Metra does damage, in the box, on the penalty spot. Great finish. You can't have him doing this wide stuff. I don't know what this is, but you've got Buonanotte, you've got Willian Yonto, we've got Noah Okafor. Farke's got to move away from, like, it was like at the end, it was Nonto, it was DCL and Metra. It's just so strange to me, but I'm hoping that now we've got the likes of Buonanotte, that experiment's going to stop. But because that's exactly what Metra is at the end, on the penalties box, ball into the box, great finish, and he's going to be a nuisance in there. You put him wide left, he just looked awful. I mentioned this on the video. He looked drunk when he came onto the pitch. Get him into the box. Don't put him wide left. It's bizarre. But yeah, it was just really important for me anyway that we just won that game. Winning that game was imperative for Leeds, and now we're looking, at the West Ham result, and you're thinking, oh, that is massive now. West Ham winning in the last minute. That's 2 wins in 2 for West Ham in all competitions, which is how they'll be looking at it. And yeah, really, really important for Leeds United at the end there to get that goal and nick it. Let's have a look at what you guys are saying in the comment section below anyway. Let's see. Mr. P says that game was a hard watch, but great cross and assist by Ampadu and Metra. Farke got me pulling my hair out with the subs. 3 points in the bag, exactly, Mr. P, and that's the most important thing, my man. Farke sub time bad, but back in him as form last 10, indeed. JC says superb result. Put this towards a coffee, pal. Thanks, mate. Was West Ham 2-1? It was. West Ham won it in the last minute. Okafor was no good. I played 2 up top with Metra and DCL. We can't have Grove taking set pieces. Some of those deliveries were horrendous. Must win for us. Metra was horrendous when he came on, but this is the thing. I mean, I was getting loads of flack on the watch along, guys, because I was gunning for Metra. I could not believe how bad he was on the ball. I couldn't believe it. He almost looked knackered as well. Do you guys think that? He looked knackered when he came on. I was like, what is this guy just has he had 3 pints before he's come onto the pitch? Losing possession. Didn't look like he was able to get his foot in, and then he comes up with that at the end, but the ball's in the box. You do not want him wide left. Do not have that. West Ham will be more disappointed that we won 100%, mate. Imagine what Forest are thinking. Stack should be back for Everton. That is true. Yeah. Aronson isn't the finished product. We know that, but he's definitely turned a corner, I think. Seems to be playing better. Yeah, he does, mate. He 100% does. And I think we've got to say that with Brendan. He's never going to be my favourite player. He's never going to be a player who I look at and aesthetically think, Tanaka is one of my favourite players because aesthetically I love how he can run a game. Aronson isn't aesthetically pleasing. He's very unorthodox, but you've got to give him plaudits where plaudits should be given. And for the last 3 weeks, some people don't want to hear it because they're quite frankly weirdos. But we've given Brendan Aronson a lot of praise. I've actually said in the Newcastle game, I think it was his best performance in a Leeds United shirt. You know, Palace, I thought he was good. He's had a lot of good performances in the last month, so credit to him. But, you know, there will always be that side of Brendan Aronson, which will get criticism because he doesn't make the right decision, and it can put Leeds into a very, very hairy predicament. But I wanted to speak as well about the goalkeeper. Really important. I thought he was really good. Look, there was some kick in which you're looking at and thinking he's slicing it into the middle of the pitch. He's maybe going a little bit too long. He's giving it to Leno. I'm going to make a really bold statement right now. He's better than Lucas Perry. I think he's better than Lucas Perry. And that might come back and clip me. And I know a lot of you guys do like to clip stuff, which is fine. I think he's better in his box. I think he's more decisive. I think his kicking's better. I think his decision-making's good. I think he's not as clunky. Overall, I think he's a better goalkeeper. I don't think there's that much between the shot stopping either. So Carl Darlow, part of a clean sheet. You know, team who's got a clean sheet there as well. The keeper keeps his jersey. I think he was good. Don't think he had a lot to do. Of course he didn't, which isn't going to test him. But I think that's actually more problematic for a goalkeeper when you do get the ball, especially with the ball at your feet. I think I've mentioned this before, but as a 35-year-old goalkeeper, with how the new age goalkeepers play now, which from some of you will have kids who are in net, and from early on, probably about 6, 7, 8 now, they're encouraged to play out from the back. They're like, look, we've coached these ages before. You encourage them to split the centre backs. That's what you do when you're coaching. You encourage to split the centre backs. You want the wing backs higher up the pitch from a goal kick if you can, and you want the goalkeepers to effectively try chip the ball. And this is goalkeepers from 7 onwards at academy level, people. You want effectively the goalkeeper to have 3 things in his arsenal when it comes to kicking out from the back. Playing it to each centre-back, so the centre-back split that box. You want the keeper to be able to do that and to be able to feign when he's on the ball. So when he gets it, maybe feign. Striker then follows that path, but you actually play it that way, which we saw Darlow do today. You want to either hit, you know, one of the wing-backs, full-backs, or whatever. So you need that mid-range passing. And then the other one is to be able to hit the central midfielder. So you think about that when it comes to a goalkeeper. That's what they're encouraged at academy level goalkeepers to be doing from like 7 onwards. So I think Carl Darlow at 30, I think he's 36 this year. I think he's better at that right now than Lucas Perry. I think you saw today with his varied distribution, there was one point which he fizzes the ball into the midfield, bypasses Sander Berger, and it's at Darlow's feet. It was Ampadu's feet. It's a really good ball. And I thought his distribution overall was really good today. I don't think Perry has a lot of upside over Darlow, and that's damning on Perry. It just is. But I think Darlow's been consistent for Leeds. I do. He's the most consistent goalkeeper we've probably had since Rob Green. So I think that's a conversation now which it probably needs a little bit of a lid on in terms of who starts, because I think it's Carl Darlow. I think he manages his half spaces a lot better. You can see him, but he's very vocal as well in that back line. I think he handles corners really well. We'd never have a problem with Darlow, with Darlow from set pieces. Yeah, you do wonder. And also, if Darlow is the main goalkeeper, Leeds have got to be going out and looking for another one. They've got to be going out and looking for another one because Perry's not good enough. That's clearly what Farke thinks, and that's clearly the thought process now. If Darlow's starting in a Premier League campaign and it's going to be consistent, if Darlow's starting, they don't deem Perry probably good enough. So, and like that, it's more assurance, isn't it? Benjamin Zav says Conor Tanaka must start if it's not. I feel he might leave. Yeah, he doesn't look happy right now. I've said this before the games, Zav. I said I think he will leave in the summer. I think I've said this before, but with a midfield, when you've got lost Stack and you've lost the main creative link between the midfield and the attack, when you've lost that and you need someone to get on the ball who is maybe a better progressor, in a game at home, in not a must win, but a game we need to pick up all 3 points. If you've lost that, you kind of think to yourself, if you're out Tanaka, I'm gonna seamlessly fit in here. And then if you don't, you're then probably looking at it and going, right, okay, that's interesting. And then you've got 2 sixes starting ahead of him in Gruev and Ampadu. Ampadu's always going to start, but then you've got Aronson in there as well, who definitely deserves to start people, but you're at least looking at Gruev and thinking there's a way of which Farke wants to approach games like this. We know he wants to stay in games. He doesn't want to lose games, obviously, but he's a more conservative football manager. If he was a more flowy, like let's say if he was more of a Bielsa manager, Gruev wouldn't be starting, Tanaka would be starting. And that's kind of the different ideologies of certain managers. Some managers want to be on the front foot. If Ange Postecoglou was a manager of Leeds United, Gruev wouldn't be starting, it'd be Tanaka every single week. That's kind of the comparison, isn't it? So Tanaka in a front-footed managerial style, he will be starting week in, week out. But Farke always wants to go for conservation over going for that risk, I think. And Tanaka is that risk. But I also think he's criminally underrated when it comes to that defensive side of the game. So I think he's a harrier. I think he's a really good screening central midfielder. So, but yes, in terms of let's have a conversation about Tanaka and the summit. Yeah, I think he'll be weighing up his options right now. Definitely. Yeah, 100%. And he'd be daft not to, really. Let's have a look. Still not sure on Darlow's kicking. It's better than Perry, but still needs work on it. He didn't really put a foot wrong for me. Bielsa's knee says, not sure I'm qualified to comment on which GK, but I love Farke's leadership here. He's learned from the Melee situation. Love to see that. Yeah, definitely, mate. Slap a like on the video as well, everybody. David said, I've always said Darlow is better than Perry. Darlow should be our number one. He's the best. He can save goals and save penalties. He's just outstanding. Okay, big fan of Darlow there. Big fan. Bielsa's knee said it's okay. Yeah, guys, how are you feeling about West Ham winning that game in terms of a continuity standpoint? What are you thinking? Because I think with West Ham, they are going to improve. So maybe it's just a case of us just picking up those wins and nicking those points. But, they've got a quality side, West Ham. There's no way around that. I think they've got quality individuals now. And especially now if they keep hold of Callum Wilson, there's conversations about him going to Celtic. That's what Wilson will do. Absolute poacher. And he wins the game there for West Ham. They're mental if they let him go. But if they do keep hold of him, which I think they probably will do now, they're going to be forced to keep hold of him now. But if you've got Wilson, you've got Somerville, he's able to keep hold of Paquetá. You've got Fernandez. You've got Malik Diouf coming back. You got Aaron Wan-Bissaka. You've got players in there. You've got Jared Bowen. You've got a good team there. And this is the thing. So we've got to, where it's still, I still look at Leeds. And think, we're still underdogs, which is crazy, isn't it? You're kind of looking at it, and it's not that we're not in a really favourable position right now, because we are, but I still see Leeds as the underdogs. I still see the fact that they're able to have, when you look at West Ham, Mavropanos, you look from back to front, Mads Hermansen, who they brought in from Leicester, who they just don't fancy. Similarly, probably to us with Perry. So they've just got Areola there waiting on the bench, who comes in and is as good. Okay, they've got Mavropanos, who was carried off on a stretcher, and then they're bringing Tadibo or whoever it was. They can deal with it. Then in the midfield, maybe Paquetá doesn't start, but then Fernandez is a good creator. He's a good innovator in that midfield, so they can replace one of the best players West Ham have probably ever had in Paquetá in terms of his technical level. They can replace him with Fernandez. Up top, they've got depth up top. They've got depth out wide. It's just one of these things with West Ham where it's like, we see now that with Stack and Beal out, we really struggle. But we've done really well today to dig out that point. All 3 points. But you can tell there's a massive difference. Is there that much of a difference in West Ham's side? Probably not, because over the years of spending, the years of just putting money into that squad, they've got a better team. So I still see Leeds as the underdogs. I look at Nottingham Forest and I see about 7 different wingers, of which, we would have gone and got Delane Backer if it wasn't for Forest in the window. We'd probably have James McAtee. We'd have probably had James McAtee at the start of January, wouldn't we, before Buonanotte? He's like their 5th, 6th player. I kind of just look at us as the underdogs, but we're just doing really well right now, and I'm hoping we stack, and I'm hoping we be all back. Don't underestimate that win as well, people. Don't underestimate that win. That's against Fulham. Let's have a look at Fulham's results just to all make you feel really good. But I'm pretty sure that they were second in the form table, and as I've said, we've done to them what they did to us. Right at the end, they've nicked it. They beat Borough, then they've drawn to Palace away, they've drawn to Liverpool at home, they've beaten Chelsea, they've beaten Borough, I'm going from back to front there, 4-5 against City, they beat Burnley, narrowly lost in the League Cup quarterfinals to Newcastle, beat Forest, beat West Ham. This is a good team. It's a good team. So, beating them it's not like maybe Fulham of old, where you're looking at that and thinking, oh, it's Fulham. It's not. Yeah. Ian says, you got the coffee. This is a packet of biscuits. Darlow #1. Thanks so much, mate. Thanks so much. Really, really appreciate that. John says, Connor, please apologise to Ray. You were brutal in your bet. Oh, mate, John, we're just having a... John, I know you. We're just having a laugh, mate. We're just having a laugh. I wasn't taking it seriously. I've got a very... When I'm sarcastic, mate, sometimes it looks like I'm being real. That was in the watch on. We're having a bit of banter. It wasn't anything seriously. Yeah, appreciate that. Let's have a look as well. Andrew says, I can see a scenario West Ham and Leeds both survive. Is Dyche Ball going to raise Forest levels? Seems unlikely. Yeah, interesting, mate. Only 2 points behind Spurs, close to mid-table and relegation with 16 games left to play. Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. And that's kind of how we've got to look at it, I guess. Spuds are going down. They've got to sack him, haven't they? They've got to sack him. He's got to be the man going. I mean, the thing is, what I'd like to see as well is maybe a little bit of Buonanotte. A little bit of Buonanotte. That would be great. But guys, listen, I am going to leave it there. We're gonna head on over to the Patreon. Head on over there, guys. Listen, have a drink, have a good one tonight, and keep smiling. Leeds win the game. Leeds on 25 points.